Hi, Sidaq. We have Sidaq Singh on our talk today. Sidaq, congratulations for finally clearing this examination, your last attempt. How does it feel?
Thank you, sir. It feels great, sir. Uh, there is a feeling of relief, feeling of happiness, feeling of gratitude as well.
Absolutely. Mostly last attempt. It's a huge sense of relief, I must presume.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, for the uninitiated, can you just briefly introduce yourself, your journey, right from your schooling days, college days? Uh, how was your journey like?
So, sir, I come from the city of Agwada. It is in
Mhm,
district Kapurthala of Punjab. I did my schooling from St. Joseph's Convent School in my
mhm.
city itself, Agwada. And I did my graduation from Guru Nanak Dev University, Amritsar, in BA Honours Political Science. And post that, I started preparation for civil services. And this was actually my sixth attempt, my last attempt. And as far as my UPSC journey is concerned, I was able to clear prelims on in every of my attempt, except my fourth attempt. It was post my first interview. I appeared for the interview for the first time in my third attempt, and this was actually my third interview
Okay.
in 2024, and hopefully, sir, or things worked this time, and I secured a rank of 157.
Great. Uh, okay. For the folks who are watching the show, I'll just like to clarify that Sidaq Singh was not a part of my formal mentorship program per se, but we have been in touch for almost like 2, 3 years now. I was having a different methodology, and I was not able to exactly cater to his demand at that point of time, which he felt was right, and I rightly denied taking him under my mentorship program because I was also not able to deliver that need, etc., because it was slightly different from my approach at that point of time. So this is a testimony to the fact there can be many paths. Okay, but it doesn't mean only one path will help you succeed. At that point of time, what Siddharth wanted was intense answer writing and personal evaluation. I did not have that kind of bandwidth at that point of time, but that was the necessity for his last attempt because he was consistently clearing prelims. He wouldn't have to sit with me in that programs and figure out everything. So he needed a main specific program. At that point of time, I did not have the bandwidth for an additional special program or a set of programs for students like Siddharth. Eventually, over a period of time, they evolved. So the point I'm clarifying here is the reason I'm bringing up this talk is because there are many people like Siddharth who are in the last attempt who believe that there's a lot of pressure and uh, maybe it's not doable anymore. They start having a lot of self doubt, etc. But if you figure out, if you have many conversations, even Siddharth had conversations where he discovered these are some of his problems. He had that validation from many other people as well. Once you figure out what are your problems, a mentor is someone who can reduce that gap through an actionable agenda. So this is what Siddharth did, and I'm categorically clarifying to everyone who's watching the show. The purpose of this talk is just to educate about what are the problems that many aspirants face so that you take an informed decision in your journey. That's the clear cut agenda. So, with that out of the window, this is not meant to promote any program or anything. This is just to help aspirants who are fresh into this preparation figure out how to go about this preparation. All right, Siddharth, like let's get started.
Sure, sir.
So, let's begin with your prelims journey, or let's go back and start from the point one. Why civil services? The most generic question that you would probably face. What was your inspiration?
So the initial motivation was, or it came from my father's side. He was the one who actually motivated me to start preparing for UPSC, and it dates back to when I was in 10th standard.
Okay.
So it was his wish that I should prepare for UPSC civil services. And over the period of time, sir, as I understood more about the civil services, I realized that. it can be a source of self-satisfaction for me, because it provides the opportunity to make not just substantial but meaningful contribution to the lives of multiple number of people. And I felt that I could derive a lot of self-satisfaction from that, and I felt that my calling lies there. So that is something, sir, which kept me motivated.
Great. So, how did you go about this preparation? Did you join any foundation course, or what was your modus operandi?
Yes, sir, I did enroll for a foundation course, and I attended the classes for around 4 to 5 months. Since my background was in arts, so my foundation was actually ready. And I once I started attending the classes of the foundation course, after a certain period of time, I felt that now self-study is sufficient for me to cover the syllabus. So after attending that for 4 to 5 months, then I started preparing on my own.
Right. This advice that you might be giving will be relevant for anyone who does not have an arts background or any context of UPSC. There is a myth or there is a opinion that without coaching one cannot crack this exam. What is coaching according to you? In the ambit of that definition, what is foundation course role, and is it enough for you to crack this exam? What is your opinion on this?
Sir, I think as far as foundation course is concerned, any candidate who has no idea about the subjects like polity or history, because if we talk about history, then majority of the students they study history till class 10th. So post that there is a very big disconnect. So I think foundation course helps such students who have no background when it comes to arts to introduce them to the subjects. So as far as introduction to the subjects is concerned, foundation course does help. But sir, I think foundation course though might be important, but it is not sufficient to help a candidate to get across the line. And what is sufficient is A, you need to put in a lot of hard work. Secondly, I think you need to have a good mentor by your side,
Mhm.
because the main game is played during the mains examination. And at that point of time, if you have a mentor by your side who tells you what the expectation of the examiner is, how you are going to frame the answers, and in this preparation of UPSC, sir, I felt that having a good command over the knowledge and putting that knowledge on paper in a format which is required by the examination, they're two different things. So you need to learn that skill, and to learn that skill, I think one cannot be dependent on foundation course, because the role of foundation course is just to introduce you to different subjects and to provide you a, a, a sufficient amount of insights into the different subjects. But the element which plays the most important role is the answer writing skill. And that is something which I do not think a lot of foundation courses focus upon. So in that
Right.
case, I think mentorship becomes more important.
Correct. So, if a fresher approaches you and says that I want to crack it in 1 year in the first attempt, if you have the ability to travel back in time with all the wisdom that you have gained in this 6 or 7 years of preparation, how would you do things differently? Like, imagine you have no context, you're not from a humanities background, but you want to crack it in 1 year. Do you think a foundation course is the way to go about it, or is it the most effective way to go about it? Why? Why not?
Sir, as I said earlier, if a candidate has no background with regard to the subjects of the arts, he has no understanding of polity, prior understanding of polity, history, geography, then I think enrolling for the foundation course might not be a bad idea. But once you have sufficient amount of knowledge about these subjects,
Mhm.
then the larger focus should be on answer writing component and writing a lot of answers. And the reason why I'm emphasizing upon writing answers is because I think once you start writing answers, it is only then you understand what are your weak areas, which are the areas which need improvement or refinement, whether it is your introduction, body, conclusion, whether there are issues with regard to understanding what the demand of the question is, whether there are issues in structuring or presentation. So once you write answers and get your answers evaluated, it is only then you understand which are the areas where you are making mistakes. Secondly, sir, the benefit of writing more answers is, I think in my case, there was a direct correlation between the between the pace at which I was able to attempt the answers in the real examination and the number of answers I practiced or the number of mock tests I wrote. So I think the more you write, the better you can attempt the paper at a better pace. And the third thing, sir, when it comes to writing answers, is when you write answers or you appear for the mock tests, there are always two or three questions about which you do not have much knowledge base. But within the mocks, you use your peripheral knowledge to attempt those questions. And in the actual examination as well, there would be two to three questions about which a candidate might not have any idea. But if you have faced a similar situation in the mocks, then I think you stand a better position to attempt those questions in a manner which is better than what your competition is doing. So I think writing a lot of answers, staying in touch with good mentors, these are the things, sir, over which I'll focus or I'll suggest to others.
There are two caveats here. When a fresher approaches us with the mindset that they're like a blank paper, they feel that unless and until they sit for an entire year in a basic foundation course, then they write the attempt, then they figure out the problems, and then in the next year, they spend time inefficiently in a lot of areas. What would your suggestion be like? How do you think they can accommodate their time if they want to crack this in a span of like 1 year to 15 months? How should they optimize their time?
Sir, I think the initial time period should go into understanding different subjects, different themes, and analyzing or getting insights into the into different subjects. So the initial 3 to 4 months can go into this, reading about polity, economy, history, completing the core subjects. Once an aspirant has done that, post that stage, sir, I think answer writing can start along with the preparation of the optional. In this case, sir, I think the syllabus given by UPSC and the previous year questions, they are the North Star. They are the guiding light. So, by looking into the questions of prelims and mains, I think one is able to understand what the expectation of the examination from the candidate is. So, once you are aware about the expectation of the examination, the next thing that can be done is going through the topper copies
Mm-hmm.
because it is actually or it provides a proven model that has helped candidates fetch marks. So then you can orient your answer writing skill as per the toppers, or you can understand the things which actually pay off, which fetch marks in the examination. And post that, sir, once your content is ready, focusing on revision is important, practicing more and more. That is how I think, sir, the grip over the subject, the grip over the skill improves. So this is something, sir, which is a continuous process which needs to be done, refining one's own self, refining the skill of answer writing. So this is something, sir, which I'll suggest to the new aspirants.
Okay. If you have to walk us through your previous attempts, why did it take you 5 attempts, or why did you succeed in the sixth attempt but not the very first one? Can you help us understand the various problems you have faced or the mistakes that you have done so that the younger folks need not repeat them?
Sir, actually, when I started the preparation, I entered the preparation with a lot of overconfidence. I was a good student in my school and in my university as well. So I felt that I would be able to crack this examination without any mentorship support.
Mhm.
Excuse me. So I did not seek mentorship support till the end of my fourth attempt. It was only in my fifth attempt that I went to a mentor, and it is through him that I understood that though I had good command over the knowledge, but I was not presenting the content in the right manner on paper. So that is the time when, by seeking suggestions from my mentor, I felt that my performance in the actual examination improved. As I said earlier, the importance of answer writing is something which I realized very late. And I was not writing much answers, and hence I was not able to understand what are the weak areas or which are the areas where my skill requires more honing. And the third thing is that probably I was not focusing as much as was required on the previous year questions.
Mhm.
This year, I focused a lot on the previous year questions, especially from the smaller blocks like society, security, governance, social justice. So I think once you've gone through the previous year questions, you understand what the horizon of knowledge which is required in these themes. If you take the example of security, say the topic of Naxalism, then in the last 8 to 10 years, majority of the questions more or less have revolved around what are the causes of Naxalism, what are the reasons for the decrease in size of the red corridor, what are the steps taken by the government, or way forward.
Yeah.
So once you understand that this is the scope of the subject, I think you are you s- you are in a better position to prepare for the content of that topic.
Correct.
So that's another thing, sir, which I did. And other than this, sir, I think my performance in my optional PSIR was relatively weaker in my earlier attempts. I
Mhm.
focused on PSIR, especially on paper one this year, and there was
Okay.
an increment of 15 marks.
Mhm.
And the other area on which I focused a lot was on the ethics paper. In
Mhm.
my last attempt, I had a score of 99 in ethics. This year, I put intensive efforts in ethics, made a lot of templates, focused a lot on value addition, and
Mhm.
the score made a jump of around 22 marks. I got a
Right.
score of 121 in ethics. So I think, sir, these are the things which I did differently and which created the difference.
Great. So, are you saying that you have not looked at previous year questions as intensely as you were doing that in the final attempt, in your first attempts?
Yes, sir. Though in my initial attempts, I was looking at the previous year questions, but I was not making the right use of previous year questions. I
Hmm.
think by looking at the previous year questions, one can actually predict not the exact question, but the themes on which we can expect the questions. So once you are able to predict such themes, you are able to prepare for those themes in a better manner, be it the core content or the value addition content. So I did this thing, I think, in a more effective manner this time, and probably those things they did help.
Okay. So, what was the role of any mentorship that you took along your journey in plugging these gaps, identifying the right method or the right use of PYQs?
So mentorship was very helpful. One of my mentor, he told me or he introduced me to the toolkit approach. So he suggested me to prepare a toolkit for every theme, be it society, be it polity, international relations, security. Now, the benefit of following the toolkit approach is that you have an idea that if, say, there is a question on Naxalism, as I took the example earlier, how you are going to introduce the answer. Other than this, in the body portion, how you're going to generate multiple dimensions of this.
Mm.
For example, when I studied or when I was preparing for the Naxalism topic, what are the reasons for Naxalism? I divided that into four parts.
Mm.
Jungle, Zameen, just a second. Then the administrative reasons, political reasons, and other factors. So by preparing the toolkit for every theme, I think not only are you able to generate more points, but you are able to attempt the answer in a relatively shorter span of time. And it also helps you to write effective introductions and conclusions. Other than this, sir, the benefits where mentorship helped me is generating more points and making sure that I write them without overstepping the time limit. One of my mentors, he suggested me after having a look at my copy that you are uh, writing on an average 5 lines per point. So he advised me to decrease that to 2 to 3 lines per point, which helped me accommodate more points and help my answer make look more holistic. So
Mm.
multiple suggestions like these were made, sir, and I think when all of these are taken together, they do make a substantial impact to the marks.
Also, other day when we were talking about the role of mentorship, you mentioned how like a lot of younger aspirants can misinterpret the statement. So they
Mhm.
usually ask this question, who is the best mentor or etc. And I always tell them there is nothing like a best mentor. A mentor is someone who has experience, context, your persona, who has the ability to plug those gaps with their knowledge and experience. So all you need to know is your problem, then you can seek a solution. But having said that, we were also discussing how this new trend of not sticking to one plan because of FOMO. There can be a mentorship program or a plan that one person started with. I advocate that no matter what plan you started with, at least have the patience to finish that, because a mentor is not someone who is going to dump knowledge all at once. It's like a dialogue. And you were also sharing something on similar lines, and I found it very insightful. So, can you tell me something about that part of the experience of what you have observed?
Sir, I think when it comes to the planning stage or choosing the mentor, planning stage is important, or making the right decision that who you want to associate with as a mentee is important. But once you have made the plan, or once you have got associated with a certain person, it becomes important to trust the plan and trust the mentor as well. Because one thing which I felt is, sir, that while I was getting mentorship for different papers, GS 1, 2, 3, 4, the mentor does not provide the entire information in one go. So if he's reviewing my paper of GS1, he's not going to provide the entire knowledge in the first phone call or in the first conversation itself. Because probably he has also something in mind that the aspirant can digest this much amount of knowledge in this conversation. So he does keep the some of the good points for the next conversation as well, or say for the next paper, GS2 or GS3, because some of the suggestions might be relevant to GS3, others might be relevant to GS3 or 4. So I think, sir, when you have got associated with a certain person, it is important to trust his wisdom, to trust his experience, and trust his plan for you. So I did stick to the mentor with whom I got associated, and I made sure that the suggestions he made to me, I do implement those.
Actually, that's a great job, because too many cooks spoil the broth. There is nothing like a good mentor or a bad mentor. Anyone who is fairly experienced and who does this on a full time basis, there will be uh, some shortcomings in every person. So it's important to trust the process wherever we are, whatever process we're doing. I advocate that understand the logic behind whatever that plan is. Once you understand the logic and you trust it, fixate yourself to the process. Don't get deviated. Thanks for clarifying that, and telling the crowd, because this is the new problem, the fear of missing out, which brings us to the next aspect, the content. See, there are multitude of pieces where you'll find content. Uh, in this journey, you must have multiple resources as a part of your content strategy. You know what to pick, what to live as you age in this preparation, as you gain more wisdom. So, what is the role of newspapers for you in this process? You've also been, actively consuming the content on my Telegram channels as well. What is your advice for younger aspirants who think that newspaper need not be studied, because it worked out for a few aspirants and they told the same thing in the interviews? That's fine. But I am someone who says that no matter what, at least learn the skill of uh, looking at a piece of editorial or a piece of information and try to restructure that thought so that it becomes intuitive. This is the way I look at newspapers. And this is what I communicated through my Telegram channel consistently. But is it how I wanted it to be, or do you have any different approach on newspapers? What was your takeaway from your association with VKS Telegram channels and the content that you have picked? How did you plug the gaps in terms of content?
Sir, as far as newspapers is concerned, I think as a UPSC aspirant, it is very beneficial to read the newspapers daily. And to make the best use of newspapers, or how I approach this is, I used to read the newspapers daily, but I did not make separate notes out of newspapers. I refer to monthly compilations for that. But the benefit of reading the newspaper or the editorials is that you get deeper insights about the topic once you read the newspaper editorials. You do not get deeper insights by reading the current affair booklets. That's something which I feel. Secondly, sir, the skill of answer writing also improves when we read the editorials. The way the editorials are framed, they are actually framed in the manner of having an introduction, then slowly moving to the body portion, elaborating on the core aspect of the topic. Various analogies are given, and finally the conclusion. So I think they are written with a very good flow, and that still also is important while writing answers. So in all these aspects, sir, I think newspapers are important. And as far as your channel is concerned, sir, I think the way you present the information, that is very good, and I benefited a lot from it. So what I did was, or I actually prepared a lot of topics from your channel, uh, a lot of topics of IR, and a lot of topics from the GS3 paper, especially the economy section, like the MSP, Green Revolution, topics like this. So I used to go there and type, say, MSP. So there would be multiple articles which would come. And I'm pretty sure that since you have put that article, there would be good knowledge that I'll gain out of it. And you do provide the context as well and certain other case studies. And the informations are, or the topics, I think, are cataloged in a very good manner, because before every mains, we used to provide the important topics. So all those things, they did really help me.
So it's like the context of this question, the next question that I'm asking is, a lot of
Mhm,
aspirants come to me and ask this question ki how many months of newspaper should we make notes out of? And I keep on reiterating the same point that the purpose of this activity on the channel is to create a habit of reading the most important articles on the platform. Because in my belief, because there are almost like 12,000 articles lying there, I don't have to put down everything that comes in it, but whatever I'm putting it out there because of the experience therein is relevant for the final exam. So the metric of posting an article now is its direct relevance to the final exam.
mhm,
So a fresher who is struggling to probably read the entire newspaper, they may not have the same kind of aptitude as the rest of their friends might have if they are reading the entire newspaper. So for them, the advice has been at least learn how to pick up information and contextualize it. So
mhm.
you mentioned about how your mentor or the test series that you've written or the evaluation you got was all about contextualizing your answers, at least the intro
Mhm,
part.
mhm.
So if someone is not able to afford any mentorship programs or any skill based programs or whatever that works for them, I suggest that at least look at newspaper articles that I'm posting there as a methodology of learning how to present an answer or how to present an argument. Pick up those newspaper lines and try to write down whatever you understand in the shortest possible way. How effective this can be if they're not making notes. This the activity is not meant to make short notes. This is meant to just
Mhm.
articulate your thought in a way that can be understood by you alone. So that gives a more context and more understanding of the topic. Do you agree with this method or do you have any suggestions for me to improvise this?
Sir, I think an aspirant who has just started the preparation, the method that you suggested uh, would be beneficial to him or her. Because by writing the summary of the newspaper editorial, you are learning, I think, two or three different skills. First is you are able to identify what are the important points from that editorial. Secondly, by writing them, I think you are able to learn the skill how to write that point in a crisp manner, something which the requirement of the UPSC examination is. And thirdly, you are getting notes ready of that topic in a crisp manner. So these are the benefits. But sir, I think when it comes to answer writing, or a student who is not able to afford mentorship, along with this practice, something which can benefit is going through the topper copies. Now,
Yeah.
say if a student has prepared a topic of, say, NGOs or self-help groups, and he refers to the topper copies and read a question on, say, self-help group or NGOs, the way a topper has approached, and then try to write the answer based on the knowledge that he has.
Mm.
So I think that that approach will also be very beneficial because you get to understand how the topper has presented his content as per the demand of the question, how
Correct.
he has used the value addition points, how did he introduce the question, how he concluded. So this could be another way that could be probably done simultaneously along with writing the summary of the newspaper editorials.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion there, Siddharth. Um, over now, let's get back to individual papers very quickly.
Mhm.
Prelims is coming up. We
Mhm.
are shooting this just before prelims. Maybe we will be releasing this after the prelims. But for someone who is preparing in 26, what is your one line advice for prelims? What is it that worked for you always?
So too difficult to summarize this in one line. Uh,
Mhm.
but as far as my approach is concerned, sir, I'll take some time to explain it. My approach, sir, when it comes to prelims was very systematic and methodological, in the sense that when it comes to the planning stage, I divided the subjects of prelims in three different heads.
Mhm.
For the sake of convenience, let's call them three different buckets.
Okay.
So in the bucket one, there was polity, economy, geography, and modern history. Now, the reason why I clubbed these four subjects together is because A, I found these subjects as relatively easier to understand and read.
Okay.
Secondly, my accuracy or hit ratio was more in these subjects.
Mhm.
And thirdly, the overall weightage of these subjects was quite high, around 50%.
Mhm.
If we look into the prelims papers of the last 5 years, then on an average, around 17 questions they come from polity, 13 each from geography and economy, and 5 from modern history, which makes a total to 48. So around
Right.
50% of the questions they come from bucket one. In the bucket two are AMAC, ancient medieval art and culture, science and tech, and environment. These three subjects. Now, the reason why I clubbed these three together is because A, I found these subjects as relatively difficult to read and understand.
Mhm.
And secondly, my hit ratio was not as good in these subjects as it was in the subjects of the bucket one.
Mhm.
However, the weightage of these three subjects is also high, sir. If we look into the past 5 years, and on an average, 10 questions come from AMAC and 12 each from science and tech and environment. So
Mhm.
35 questions, they come from this area.
Mhm.
Now, while I was focusing quite a lot on bucket one because my accuracy was fairly high in those areas, I made sure that I focus on the subjects of the bucket two as well. Because a lot of
Okay.
people, serious aspirants, they also used to neglect this portion. And I
Mhm.
knew that I can derive the competitive advantage or competitive edge from the subjects in the bucket two. So I made sure that I develop a good amount of grip over the subjects in the bucket two as well. And as
Mhm.
far as bucket three is concerned, there were current affairs and miscellaneous topics like
Mhm.
schemes and sports.
Mhm.
So the overall weightage was 15%.
Mhm.
So I knew that when it comes to prelims, there is not a lot of benefit in putting disproportionate amount of time and effort in preparing for current affairs because the weightage is just 15%.
Correct.
So I allocated only that much amount of time into the preparation of current affairs as was its weightage.
Okay.
So this was my approach, focusing quite a lot on bucket one, ensuring that bucket two is not neglected and not overdoing the topics in bucket three.
Great. That's a very meticulous strategy that you've always followed. And just to add it up, PYQs. That's one more suggestion that I would like to give. Like, I'm sure even Siddharth would agree because he must have done it himself. Top it up
Absolutely.
with an absolute thorough analysis of PYQs. So that would sum up the prelims advice from Siddharth.
Mhm.
Now,
And just to add to that, sir,
mhm,
what I did this year was I allocated around 100 days to prelims.
okay,
In the initial attempts, I used to allocate around 90 days, three months. But since this was my
okay,
last attempt, I gave extra 10 days. So during the planning stage, I remember that I allocated around 8 days to polity. So I used to divide every subject in two halves.
mhm,
So the first half will be completed after 4 days, and then I'll give the sectional test of quality. Then I'll complete the second half. Then again give the sectional test of quality, and the next day I will revise the entire quality and give a complete test of quality section.
Okay.
and I will revise every subject after 30 days. So if I've completed polity, say on 8th or ninth day, then I'll revise polity again on 39th day and 40th day. Then again give the test. So I
Okay.
made sure that whenever I'm preparing a subject, I'm doing at least two revisions of that subject. And in the
Okay.
last 10 days, then there will be multiple revisions of the subject. So this cements the grip over the core part of our syllabus.
Great. Great. Okay. Now moving to the mains part. Okay. Now coming to the mains part, Siddharth, you were mentioning about how you think GS 1, 2, 3 are similar. GS 4 ethics and personality test are similar in the way they should be approached in thought process. Can you give us a bit more context of your assertion there?
So, sir, I think when it comes to the approach of writing GS 1, 2, and 3 answers, uh, the approach is largely similar in the sense that when it comes to the demand of the question, what I used to do was firstly understand whether there is a non-core demand of the question or not. Just to give an example, this year in the polity paper, there was a question on citizens charter. The first line was, or it talked about the importance of citizens charter. It was a general statement, followed by the question that there are certain issues in the citizens charter and suggest some measures. So though the main demand of the question is, or it pertains to the issues in the citizens charter and the suggestions required based on those problems. But the non-core part of the question was the importance of citizens charter. So, firstly, the non-core part needs to be addressed, though not in a very elaborate manner. So, what I used to do was I used to draw a hub and spoke model because in this case, the non-core demand is the importance of citizens charter. So, I'll write citizens charter, circle it, and then write the importance of that transparency, accountability, grievance redressal, things like that. And
Okay.
then I'll address the core part of the answer. So this is largely the approach. And the other thing which I used to do was I used to present my points in the format of KEV.
Mm-hmm.
From K, there is or K refers to keyword. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the keyword, then put it in box. So that
Mm-hmm.
will act as my subheading.
Mm-hmm.
Then a small explanation. E stands for explanation. A small explanation of that keyword followed by a value addition component. For example, in case of polity, it could be an article number or the name of a Supreme Court judgment or certain anecdote, sorry, a case study. So this is how I used to add value to this. And this was my format across the three GS papers of presenting the information.
Okay. So your scores were consistently similar in all the items, or this last item saw a significant jump in GS 1 to 3?
So when it comes to GS 1, 2, 3, there was not a very significant change. The significant change actually happened in case of my ethics paper
Okay.
because my score in the other subjects was decent in GS
Mm-hmm.
1, 2, and 3. But in my last attempt, my score in GS 4 was less. It was 99.
Okay. S-
So the scores in this attempt were almost same when it comes to 1, 2, and 3, but there was an improvement in GS 4.
Okay. Now that you have this experience of witnessing what went wrong and what worked for you, can you explain the demand of ethics paper and as an extension, essay paper?
So when it comes to the demand of the ethics paper, I think it is expected that the answer should involve the values of ethics and it should not look like an answer of general studies paper. So it should look like an answer of the ethics paper. And to do this, what I did was that I prepared a template or uh, frameworks in which for example, I had certain templates prepared. If there is a question on misinformation, I'm going to link it to Plato's allegory of caves. If there is a question on, say, corruption, I'm going to start that with a quote of William Rickleshaw's. If there is a question, say, on environment, whether in theory portion or in case studies, I'm going to write certain phrases like Prakrati, Rakshita, Rakshati, Rakshita, and then certain quotes from Gandhiji, uh, and When it comes to corporate citizenship, again, I had a few quotes which I use in the introduction and then in the conclusion as well, and reinforce quote. So I had my templates ready that if there is a question on so and so topic, I'm going to introduce in this manner and I'm going to conclude this in a certain manner. So this benefited me in two senses. Firstly, I was able to make my answer look like an answer of ethics. Secondly, the amount of time that I needed to brainstorm on that topic in the examination was relatively lesser because I had my templates or frameworks in my mind. And the other thing, sir, which I did was I connected the values with the views of the scholars. I used multiple scholars, be it Immanuel Kant, John Locke, Gandhi ji, uh, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates. So I made extensive use of these scholars both in the theory portion and in the case studies as well. And in the case studies, I used a lot of knowledge of my part A,
Mm-hmm.
the theory portion. I interconnected a lot of topics. So
Okay.
probably said those things they worked. And did a lot of practice of answer writing as well. So in my initial attempts, I was facing a challenge with regard to paper completion. But this year I was able to complete the entire paper and that too with, I guess, good quality content being put there.
What was the role of newspapers here in value addition?
Quite a lot, sir. When it comes to using the examples, a lot of examples were taken from the newspaper. So what I did was that I prepared a separate sheets for the ethics paper. And when I used to feel that this is a good example which can be used in the ethics paper, I used to put it in my booklet of value addition for ethics. So I covered or I gathered a lot of examples and anecdotes which I used in the ethics paper from the newspaper.
Okay. So for someone who is just starting out, and someone who is using our platform of VKS newspapers and the ethics channel also, can you explain with any example that you can think of? Like, because it's a generic newspaper article and they're not able to figure out how do I derive value in the context of ethics. Maybe this suggestion can help them.
For example, sir, I borrowed the example of Tulsi Gowda, who got Padma Shri from the newspaper. And I used that as an anecdote that she planted, I guess, around 20,000 saplings. So the value of environmentalism, there would be a question invariably either in the theory portion or in the case study, which deals with the topic of environment. Now, multiple examples of corporate governance, corporate citizenship. So topics or examples like these, they do come regularly within the newspaper. So all those things can be taken and put in the value additions booklet that I think each candidate should maintain for each paper. For GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 separate booklets. So all these examples can be put there in the booklet. And I think if you're reading newspaper properly, then in every month, 10 examples of each paper can be collected very easily. And by the end of the year, 12 into 40, 480 examples would be there. And if you
That's
are
again a lot.
revising these, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
So if you're revising these quite frequently, we'll have extensive value addition component when it comes to the different papers.
correct. So, just one more advice that I would like to add upon Siddharth's here is that a lot of freshers they collect all these examples, but the real difference that Siddharth saw was when he used those examples in answer writing. Otherwise, it will be a pile of information lying there. If you don't know where to use what kind of example, your mind will not be able to generate that content in the examination hall. Would you agree with me, Siddharth? Or
Yes,
is there
yes.
any different approach that we can follow?
Sir, I think when you are collecting examples and when you are writing a lot of examples daily, both of these things they do get enmeshed in each other. For example, say if I've written an answer on NGOs 3 or 4 days back, and in today's newspaper, I come across an anecdote or example of NGO which was able to make a contribution or was able to make a change to the lives of the people. I'll be able to connect in a very good manner that, okay, I wrote an answer of NGO. Probably if I would have used this example 4 days back, then the overall impact of my answer would have been a bit more. So you are able to draw interconnections between what you are preparing or what you are writing and what you are
Hmm.
reading in the newspaper. So these
Absolutely.
connections would help you appreciate the examples being put there in the newspaper in a better manner.
Great. That's a great advice. So overall, if you are going to sum up your suggestions for someone who's just starting out, one, in the college, two, maybe working aspirants, three, uh, someone who is just like you, who has been in your you have been in this last attempt, equally confused, agitated, angry, frustrated, all kinds of emotions. For all this set of crowd, what would your advice be like?
Sir, I think a person who is in college, actually a lot of college students, if they have recently sought suggestion from me, the people who are at first year, my advice to them is enjoy your college life
Absolutely.
and start UPSC preparation only in the final year, because it is only by that point that you have the amount of maturity which is required to start preparation for this exam, because the syllabus is very extensive and it does require a deeper level of analysis of different topics. And once you are in the final year, I think at that point of time you are in the right position to start the preparation for UPSC. And this would be my advice to them. And when it comes to the to a person who is a working professional, sir, there is paucity of time. So in this case, again, sir, I think uh, having right direction becomes very important. And having a person who is more experienced than you as a mentor, the role of or the importance of that thing grows manifold. So if you're willing to put in effort, make sure that the effort is directed in the right path. So that would be my advice to them. And a person who is similarly placed as that of me, sir, again, I think there is my advice would be that you should reflect that which are the things which are not working. And once you understand what the flaws in your preparation are, then you need to double down and start working on those areas. And other than this, sir, I think in the fifth attempt or sixth attempt, there is a lot of anxiety कि अगर ये नहीं हुआ तो क्या होगा. So there is a need to address that as well. Calmness is very important, because if the mind is agitated, one is not able to prepare well, and always if there is a sense of anxiety or fear, probably delivering the right amount of effort, it also becomes difficult. So staying calm becomes very important.
Great. Your journey was a very eventful one, but it ended on a high note. So congratulations for that, Siddharth. And thank you for giving us this time and trying to bring more awareness about this whole preparation. I wish you all the best. You're probably going to be an IPS officer. Is that, if I'm right? You're expecting an IPS officer?
Yes, sir.
You're going to be an IPS officer. Great. So all the best for a very eventful and fruitful career ahead. Thanks for spending time
Thank
with
you.
the VKI students. Okay.